BBC Hooniverse.
You're watching the TGM production.
Hello, and welcome back to Tom Mason, the YouTube channel where I talk about Doctor Who. I've just filmed something for a brand new project that, as of recording that, it was untitled. It was either going to be on my website, in a Challenge Tom-esque situation where Challenge Tom is a web series on my website, or it will be on the streaming service, Nebula. Because Nebula, to me, seems like the correct educational platform, and Tom Scott, who I think is trustworthy, is on there. So I have to try and find a way to get into Nebula, get onto Nebula. Today we're talking about multi-platform events, based on the Whovian news we released yesterday. Today we're talking about Doctor Who, but it's Time Lord Victorious, Doomsday, and the new one, Circuit Breakers, right? So, here's what we're talking about whilst we're trying to not drop this ball for a few seconds. So I think Time Lord Victorious was an experiment, I think. That's what they were trying to do. They were trying to experiment with this multi-platform thing. I think the multi-platform events are slightly too expensive, right? So, what I mean by that is that I think they cost too much. I do think that they need to be a lot cheaper, right? Because I do think it'll make them a lot more accessible and more inviting to its audience that it's trying to attract. So, Time Lord Victorious had a compilation DVD. It had a t-shirt. It had a few other bits and bobs, but these are the ones that I think stand out. So it had the compilation DVD, it had the t-shirt, and then it had the escape room, which they've able to adapt further on. So you could go to it now, but it won't be the same as it was then. Doomsday didn't have a compilation DVD, but it had a brand new character, Doom, to introduce, which I don't think works for a multi-platform event. I think they should have, before they launched the multi-platform event, they should have introduced Doom generally, right? Get people to like Doom first, and then create this platform event, because then we understand Doom, and then we feel a lot more of a connection with the character. Because, yes, I think Doom, as soon as they came to know, was excellent, but I do think that the reason why there was negativity is because Doom came out of nowhere. The video that they introduced it wasn't the world's greatest, right? So I understand what's going on in that sense. But what I think is that if we introduced Doom in the TV show, if we did a few more other bits and bobs with Doom, then we might have had sort of a better experience with the character. Which, personally, I think is what you need, right? You need a character that your audience are going to adore, your audience are going to love, and your audience are going to sort of get on board with. But I think that's Doom's problem. Doom's problem was that the character wasn't in the Whooniverse enough beforehand, so that people weren't feeling like they were wanting to engage, really, with the concept, which, personally, I can see why. So I think Big Finish could have done a lot more before the release of Doomsday, before the multi-platform event. So Big Finish could have introduced 4 box sets earlier, could have done a lot more, and then we wouldn't be in this situation where Susie Kempner isn't really, well, I do think the negativity was a little bit over the top, right? I personally didn't engage much with Doomsday. I didn't really engage that much with Time Lord Victorious, but we'll get on to my personal preference on these multi-platform events. But what we're saying is that I didn't really interact with it as much, and I do think that because of an episode being Doomsday with David Tennant and Rose Tyler, because of the way they sort of announced it, people's hopes will build up to something else, and were sort of let down by that, which I do think it was poor marketing. But overall, I think that Doom is an excellent character, and I think needs to be integrated more. But I also think that if you're going to say that Doom's a deadly assassin, don't get a comedian that's really cheerful to do it, right? Because obviously at that point you sort of get disillusioned and think, that's not a deadly assassin, that's a funny comedian, right? So, I personally think that Sidney Kempner would have been better suited in a more comic role, because it was just, I'm assuming the dialogue was like, hey, I'm the world's deadly assassin! So, it's not Susie Kempner's fault, and I think we should not be mean or hurtful abuse or anything towards Susie or anyone. I do think the circumstances were the fault. Now, Circuit Breakers is about to launch. They've got a DVD for Circuit Breakers, but I'm a little bit concerned about that, because Joe Martin isn't in any of the episodes that are on this DVD, so I'm a little bit annoyed at that. We could have, hopefully, in the DVD extras, hopefully, before the episodes, we have a Joe Martin cameo, or we have something that sort of explains how Joe Martin's connected to those stories, because otherwise, I think that'll be another fail. I do think that if you're going to do a multi-platform event, Time Lord Victorious was mentioned a few times within the show, and we had enough in it. Doomsday didn't really have anything going for it in a wider sense, because it was its brand new character, and it was a brand new thing for this brand new character, and John Martin not had enough screen time, and not enough audio time for this for Circuit Breakers. So I think Circuit Breakers should have waited until we've had 4, 5, 6 appearances of Joe Martin as the Future Doctor on TV, or at least they should have made their own Joe Martin spin-off for the DVD exclusively for Circuit Breakers, like they did with the Daleks YouTube spin-off for Time Lord Victorious, which also starred YouTube sensation, podcaster, TV presenter, Strictly Come Dancing contestant, and father, Joe Sugg. So I do think the potential for the Daleks web series, which I loved, A, could have gone to DVD, should have gone on DVD, and B, it should have been CBBC that aired it rather than YouTube, because I think that people would less not like it. The thing that I think is odd about it is that when you watch it, the animation's really good, but when you watch the animating reconstructions, I'm not too sure. I've got opinions of the reconstructions. Some of them could have done with the Daleks animation instead of what the animation they got, but I do think the story, it's nice having the stories back in the archive regardless. So, overall, I think that the multi-platform events are too expensive and are not accessible enough. Hopefully, the Circuit Breakers, the games are free. Hopefully that's the case, because the games have been free, but add in-app purchases so that there is ways of making money out of them, but to make sure that the game is free to play, so that'll make them more accessible. I think you need to rethink the DVD before you release it, to make sure that John Martin's in it, because none of the stories feature John Martin, so I think Doomsday can return, but I think we need to just make Doom more gritty and more drama rather than the positivity that I sort of felt off it. Susie Kempner, keep the job, excellent, but I just think we need to go more of a grittier route in the writing rather than the jolliness that we got seen. And for Time Lord Victorious, you need to release the Daleks YouTube spin-off on DVD, and whilst we're on it, release the University of Central Lancashire's version of Mission to the Unknown. So, whilst we're at 9 minutes and 44 seconds, we're going to say bye-bye. Overall, I don't really buy into them. I try and buy as much into them as I possibly can. I don't really buy into them as much as I would like. Because, again, they're slightly more expensive. And it's really hard to catch up. The t-shirt bit was absolutely hilarious. Because how's that going to tell a further story? I don't know. So, thanks for watching. I'm going to walk off now. Bye-bye.
Don't forget to subscribe to the official Tom Mason YouTube channel.